The time is already here for the next cleansing to begin, and it's going to be a slow process, but it's going to get worse as time goes on. So it's important to establish healthy family traditions so that when it hits its climax, that our descendants will be all prepared. So we have to start a new family tradition now. Lakota Star Knowledge says the earth cannot be destroyed, and she will tell you where to go for safety before that the ultimate part of the cleansing happens. She will tell you. And you have to watch nature. You have to live in a healthy way emotionally, so you're attuned into nature. So you know where to live, and things like that. Because you have to do your part too, and just live in a healthy way. We really, really need to be communicating with the earth. And you don't need a ceremony to do that. You don't need a chant to do that, or a drum, or a rattle, or a medicine bag. You don't need that. If you did, you would have been created with it. You just need to talk to the earth. Go out into nature, find a nice place to sit, and put your hands on the earth and sit on the earth. Don't stand, yeah? Sit. You have to sit on the earth, and then put your hands on the earth and start talking. A long time ago, when Indians had meetings, that's what they always did. They sat down. I remember when I was about 6 or 7 years old, there were some old people around that were still from the days of the prairie. And I'm really glad that I witnessed that. These are old people who refused to join any Christian church. There was a lady, what was her name? Grandma Eagle, that's all I knew her as, on Shan River Reservation. And she was going to turn 100 years old. She was going to have a 100-year-old birthday. And her relatives wanted to celebrate. And the lady said she's not going to go into town. She doesn't want to go into where there's electricity. So this grandma, she lived out in the country on the west side of the reservation. The west side of Cheyenne River is the traditional side. These are the people still, where Lakota language and the ceremonies are still done. Yeah. And so my mother and her side of the family are kind of related to this woman. And also, she's from that time before reservations, before Christianity came. She's from that time. So they wanted to go and help her celebrate her birthday. My mom said they don't really know if she's 100 years old, but according to the stories that she tells, they're guessing she's 100 years old. So they wanted to give her a big celebration because she was getting sickly. She's starting to give up physically. So they wanted to have a celebration for her to show appreciation. So we went out there, and everybody was sitting in a circle, and everybody was sitting on the ground. This old lady, they had her in the center, and she was sitting on the ground. Long dress, moccasins. She didn't want to wear shoes. She always dressed in moccasins. And she wanted everybody to sit on the ground. No chairs were allowed. And inside her house, there's no chairs. There's no table. No bed. She sleeps on the floor. There's no furniture. No couches or anything. And so I said to my mom, geez, this lady's a poor lady. And then my mom said, no, she's not. She said that she doesn't believe in that. She said she says she believes that, that we must always be in touch with the earth, that we must always remember the earth. When you sit on the ground, the earth comes to your mind right away. But as soon as you start sitting on chairs, you start to forget the earth. Do you know why? Well, I'll tell you why. But first, let me finish the story because I don't want to get carried away, okay? Sometimes I go in one direction and another and I forgot where I started. So let me finish this first. This grandma, she said that we have to remember the earth all the time, every day. So this lady was from that traditional time before Indians started to believe in the god. She comes from a time period when Wakantanka was an organization and not a god. Because today most Indians believe Wakantanka is God or a creator or a one God concept when really it's not. And there's more than one Wakantanka. There's more than one organization with that same name. And neither one's more important than the other, they just work differently. That's the time period she comes from. So, and she's really dark because they lived outside. So, she had her dogs with her, and they were really nice dogs. And she wore a dress made out of old. It's the same kind of cloth that the first traders that came among Indians traded with them for this cloth. She only wanted to have dresses in that cloth. She didn't want to have synthetic stuff. She didn't want any of that. She really tried to stay as natural as possible. She says we have to sleep on the earth because that's important. Then we remember the earth. The earth wants to hold us. The earth wants to embrace us. So we let her by sleeping on the floor or on the ground, as closest to the earth as you can get. So I was learning these things. This was coming from this old lady. And that always stayed with me. That you sit on the earth because you connect to the earth. So this is why when you see any kind of pictures about Indians in the ancient past, they're always sitting on the ground. It's important to sit on the ground because of the earth. You acknowledge the earth when you sit upon her, when you lay down and let her comfort you. When you're sick or just when you're tired, let her comfort you. So you lay down on the ground. These are the things, the informations that we got from this lady. I remember that, and the family was passing around the food. There was no chow line. They never said, that's not even a Lakota concept, to have a chow line where people stand in line. That's not our concept. Our concept is that whoever's doing the feast, they serve the people. They go around. See, that's why you sit in a circle, and you go around in a clockwise direction. And they just keep going round and round and round with all the food until all the food is gone. Yeah? It's a wonderful concept. So that's how they did that. So I witnessed that. I'm really glad I did. And to see this lady comes from that time. I've known two people like that. Technically, that lady would be my great-grandmother. So this means she was born probably around the 1870s. And she was a little girl at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. This is why they estimated that she has to be at least 100 years old, if not more. And when this thing happened, this dinner, this feast, that was in the 1960s, 1967, 1968, somewhere around that time. It's very interesting. The reason why they sit on the ground is because when energy comes into you, it comes into near the area where you sit on your body. So to sit on the earth, you're always feeling energy from the earth that comes in through your body, beginning in that location. It goes through you like this, and this is how you get charged up from the earth in this way. This is why Indians sat on the ground. They didn't sit on chairs because that's separating you. So, when the first Indians encounter the new civilization and people are sitting on chairs, see, some old people are saying, "Ooh, no wonder they act like that because they don't connect to the earth." That was an observation. But never, ever think that all Indians are good. Never think that, because that is not true. There's bad Indians too. And never ever think that all white people are bad. I'm friends with people who live in the mountains in Switzerland, and these people are very similar. They're very in tune to the earth. They're very, very much in tune to the earth. So don't be thinking that just because white people in the beginning sat on chairs that this is the reason why they disconnected from the earth. That's not true. Because there's white people who are very close to the earth, and there's Indians who are not. Just go to the reservation, drive around, look at all the trash on the ground, look at all the car parts and old tires and stuff scattered all over the place, and empty beer cans and soiled diapers and stuff that's laying all over the place. You can't tell me that all Indians honor the earth. Most don't. So you have to realize that. It's not the color of your skin. Okay? So anyway, this energy spot this is the first one in your body that's near the area where you sit. The ancient Indians know this, so that's why they sat on the ground. See, this is some of the training you get when you're a little child, that you're raised by the community. And as you get older, you're given more responsibility, and the things that you learn the depths. You learn more depths of that same information. So you become emotionally developed by the time you're 15 years old. That's how it used to be. Okay, it's not that way anymore. Today you have Indians who are in their 30s and they're still, even in their 60s and 70s, and they're still not emotionally developed because of that boarding school experience and the Christianization process that happened back then in the late 1880s. That stopped our emotional development as a people. It's not our mental development that's sick, it's our emotional development. A lot of people think that it's the mind, but that's not it. It's the emotional part. Without emotional development, you don't have mental stability. You can't just fix the mental part. That's not going to work. You have to go with the emotional part first, because that is what connects everything to each other. That's why it's important for people to learn from their past, no matter how traumatic it is. They have to come to peace with it somehow. And going about it with the mind is not going to work. It might give a temporary relief, but that's not the root. The root is in the emotional part. The body has 7 energy centers, but don't think that's where it ends. There's certain parts of the bodies that have sub-energy centers as well too. So there's not just 7, there's more than that. But it all begins where you sit on the earth. So like I was saying earlier, when children are learning, they're raised by the men and the women. And there's different men's societies and different women's societies, and each society had a special focus. So if a child had a talent in something, then it goes to that special focus society. They'll see it. And that's where they train that child to use it and develop it, so that they can use it to help the people. It's a community thinking perspective from the very beginning, even from within the womb. When women are pregnant, as soon as they're showing, they start talking to the children inside of them. And they sing to it, talk about its family that it's coming into. Family members come and talk to it as well. So the child is beginning a healthy foundation, a healthy emotional foundation. And it's already thinking in the community perspective before it's even born. So in this training, they see that they're always sitting on the ground. And this is what they learn, that this is important to do that, so that we always remember the earth, that we always keep her in our mind, that we thank her for everything, that she gives us everything we need to live. It's humans who mess it up. Yeah, it's humans who make McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken, foods deep fried in really, really unhealthy grease. Anyway, so this is no reason to go become a vegan, okay? No, 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 no! Don't do that. You don't want to send your body into shock. No, you just slowly put more healthy foods in your diet. That's what I do. I eat healthy, and then I have my pizza every now and then. Yeah. Every once in a blue moon, I go to McDonald's, but then I get done, and I'm like, oh, I know I don't want to go here anymore. Yeah. Then I forget that about 3-4 weeks later, so I go for another visit, and that's a reminder. Shit. Anyway, I keep healthy foods in my diet. I have my vegetables and my fruits and that I like to eat. So anyway, this is why the earth's energy enters through your where you sit down. And when you sit on the ground, you always remember the earth. You always remember the earth. Even if you don't want to sleep on the ground, maybe you should find a place to at least take a nap. And if you're concerned about creepy crawlers, get one of them screen things. You can put it over something on above you and put the screen around you and slip a little mattress on the inside and crash out. And you're still connecting because you're close, you're right there. So this is why the IKEA beds are lower than hell. Hey. That's funny for you Europeans. IKEA beds are really low. Yeah? I don't like that because they have a hard time standing up. Yeah. In the middle of the night, and I have to use a bathroom, and I sit up, and I'm like, oh, jeez, I'm low, man. I really have a hard time standing up. So I roll out of bed and grab the wall and slowly crawl up. Not that bad. Shit. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I remember another grandma, about the same age too. This lady, she lived across from us when I was growing up. And that lady was really old. And she would sing songs in the afternoon. She'd just be sitting in her room and sing old Lakota songs. Gee, somebody should have recorded that. I was just a little boy, so I didn't know about recording and things like that yet, yeah. But when I remember that, I'm like, man, somebody should have recorded her. That was the way they sang before powwows existed. This is a really old-timer way of singing. That lady only spoke Lakota. She didn't speak English. So all those kids, when they talked with their grandma, they had to talk in Lakota. So that Lakota is their first language. It was pretty cool when you think about it. And that lady was like this Grandma Eagle. She only wore moccasins too. She even slept on the floor too because she didn't like the beds and chairs. So they come from that time period. It's so cool. They didn't want to have anything to do with the church. They didn't want nothing from the church. That's where we need to come back to. Not just Indians, but everybody. These were people of the earth. So I think that's cool. So when you go to a Sundance and people are sitting on benches and stuff, you're at the wrong Sundance. Everybody should be on the ground. Think about that. Yeah? And the only excuse would be for people who are ill that can't sit on the ground. That would be the exception. Everybody else is supposed to be on the ground. And if you see girls walking around in blue jeans, you're at the wrong Sundance. These are clues, these are tips. If you want to find a good Sundance, even if the girl is, if she's not part of the ceremony, it's still wrong if she's wearing pants. These are really old traditions that people today are totally violating. So really old rules. Yeah? And again, it's because of this connection area to the earth. It's not a ceremony, it's a way of life. It's really important to be acknowledging the earth every day. You walk to work, or if you don't live that far, you should walk to work. I used to live in a small town, South Dakota, on the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation. When I was a little boy, there's the area northeast. The northeast section of town is the Indian part of town. But the thing is, all over town, not just from the Indian side, but all over, 8 o'clock in the morning or so, all the kids, not just Indian kids, all the kids walking to school. A friend walks by and, hey, hang on, wait a minute, I almost got my jacket on, I'll walk with you. All right. And you start walking together to school, and then the same thing, yeah. When school's out, and people wait for each other, and they walk back to their neighborhoods like that. They walk together. Everybody walked. Back in 1999, I was teaching Lakota language at that same school, and this time I'm a teacher. Yeah, 1999. I just started teaching, and it was winter, but I thought I would walk to work. I thought I would walk with the kids to work. So I took off, I was walking, and shit, where are all the kids at? There's only one walking, and I'm a teacher. I don't even have to be walking, I'm a teacher. But I decided I'm going to walk with the kids. So I was walking, no kids. So I thought, am I late? I got to school, and everybody's pulling in cars. Even poor families, they still have a car. And they're dropping off their kids at school. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. It's not even that far. 5-minute walk. 10 minutes at the most. And they want to get driven to school. My goodness. Then the next thing is I came in there and near the gym. A bunch of kids are at the gym. So I was thinking, what's going on there? So I went to check it out. There's a bunch of junk food machines there. Pop, potato chips, candy bars. Those are the vending machines that were in that lobby part of the gym. That's where everybody was going. And then they'd take their pop into the regular part of the school, and they would be standing in a hallway drinking their pop and eating their nachos and other potato chips and candy bars. And when the school bell rang, they put their junk food in their lockers and they got their books and went to class. Between classes, they're drinking pop and they're eating their candy bars and potato chips. And I was just shocked. That's totally unheard of in my day. Totally. If anybody did that, they did it on a sneak, yeah? But people They didn't do that. Even when I was in high school, after school, we'd go down to the pool hall. There was a pool hall called Al's Place. It's across the street from the post office. We'd go there, maybe play a few games of pool, buy a Coke, and one of them heat up sandwiches. Chuck wagon, boy, I used to really like that sandwich, chuck wagon. I'd buy a couple of chuck wagon sandwiches and a bottle of pop, and me and my best friend Leo would be playing pool, listening to some music on the jukebox. So other high school kids were doing the same thing too. So we did that after school. Then we went home and went about the rest of our evening. Well, the next day we walked to school. Everybody was walking to school. And here it was 20 years later. Nobody walks to school anymore. My goodness. And teachers are complaining about the students being groggy or can't sit still. Why, shit, it's no wonder. Look at all the sugar they're consuming before and during school. That's outrageous. And why do you think that the machines were there in the first place? Because the school was making money so that they could buy certain things. New basketballs, new footballs, or new books for whatever. You know what I mean? So they were filling the kids up with sugar and having the kids give the school money to do that so that the school could use that money to buy things for the school. As long as they gave their students diabetes, that wasn't no problem for them. As long as they got their money. So the school did this for the money. Where is the logic in that? What happened to that sacred relationship between teachers and students? This was horrible for me to see. Man, that's just unheard of from my generation. And I asked the principal about that, and he said, well, it's not all pop. There are juices and fruits down there. And I said, yeah, but what's the percentage of sales of those items compared to pop and candy bars and potato chips? He didn't say anything because he knew I was right. But this was a school board decision. It's a public school, so they had to be under the direction of a school board, which shows you the school boards don't always know what's right for the students. This is blatantly obvious. Give them diabetes and get money from them. Have them pay to become diabetic. It's incredible that was allowed. I mean, schools all over America do things like that. Some schools even have Pizza Hut there. This is no joke. That's not healthy. There's nothing healthy about pizza, people. That's junk food, whether you make it at home or whatever. It's not healthy. So, yeah, trying to come back to this walking thing here. I was just blown away that Dupree is such a small town. Not even 500 people live there. And to get from one end of town to the other end of town, it probably takes 15, 20 minutes walking. Just walking. It's a very small town. So when I needed to go to the store, most of the time I walked over there. When I went to the post office, I walked over there. I only used the car when the weather was really bad. That shocked me to see that nobody was walking in this town anymore. Everybody is using a car just to go 3 small town blocks to the store to get maybe a pack of cigarettes. You know what I mean? They drive down there. Well, maybe they smoke so bad they couldn't walk anyway. That's rugged. Yeah? That's shocking to me. Yeah, that people were not able to walk such a short distance. Anyway, so just be thinking about that. That's all I ask. To go out and take more walks and talk to the earth every day. Even if you're inside the house, talk to the earth.